Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Wake Up Missoula. I'm Scott Ramp. I'm looking a little bit brighter, so I'm just going to quickly adjust it live on MCAT. That's dumb. But I'm going to just adjust my lighting just a little bit. That's a little bit better. There we go. Not too bright, not too dark, just a little bit better on my skin tone because I am a white boy. Let's talk about some weather that's happening today. I got City Council. They're talking about updating a gun ordinance, which includes places of public assembly. So I'll get to that a little bit later. I got some news that are happening. Donald Trump's coming to Missoula as well, but I'll get on that as soon as we kick things off with a little bit of weather. It's going to be a sunny day today, but it's going to start out really cold and frosty on your windows. It's currently 28 degrees outside. This is usually from the airport. They usually get their weather instruments from over by the airport. It didn't feel that cold this morning, but it's still fairly cold out there, so you might want to wear a nice little warm sweater. You don't have to wear quite the heavy stuff quite yet, but your high is going to be 66 today, which is going to be great. It's going to be pretty much this kind of temperature with highs in the 60s all week long with lows into just above freezing temperatures. So you can enjoy all that all week long. It's a good way to be out and about this week in Missoula. And why not? Because you're going to be out and about either going to Trump at the airport in the Minuteman hangar, which the rally starts at 6:30ish. The doors open at 3:30. You can get your tickets at donaldjtrump.com. Of course, on the other side, if you want to if you're on the other side of the political spectrum and you're looking for a rally and you're looking to protest this, Missoula Rises is coordinating in multiple events throughout the city of Missoula with many different organizations, which include Love Trump's Hate. They're going to be starting at Playfield Park around 2:30 to about 4:30. Hang out, make T-shirts, banners, all that stuff. 4:30 to 5:30. It's for the rally where everyone's going to be talking. Giving their 2 cents, and then from 5:30 to 6 p.m. they're all going to march to the Missoula Fairgrounds where they're going to get out the vote. And that's what's going on there. Of course, moving on, Dylan Conant was charged with assault with weapons back in August. After he eluded the law enforcement about a month and a half. Of course, you might have heard about the Sentinel shooting that happened at Sentinel High School, which didn't involve any MCPS students whatsoever. Of course, on the stand the other day, Conant claims that the other teens tried to knock him down in a drug deal gone wrong, and he used the gun for self-defense. So basically, in his own words, when they met up at the Southgate Mall, Conant was looking to sell drugs. And the other two teams were just like, oh, yeah, sure, let's do this. And they decided on a location in the alleyway of Sentinel High School where one of the teens basically said, now, but right before the second teen punched him in the head and knocked him down. And while one of the two teen boys were hitting him while he was down, the other one was ruffling through his bag to steal from him. Conant pulled out his gun, as he claimed in self-defense, and fired shots. They wrestled the gun, and the shots were fired. Conant says that one of the teens were able to get the gun from Conant and aimed it at his head, and Conant said he pleaded with the teen that was pointing the gun at his head to a point where he was able to run and get away. And the reason why he claims that he eluded the police for a month and a half was to build a case for his defense that he was in the right in this instance. Bail is set at $250,000 Thursday for the 17-year-old facing felony charges in connection with June shooting. So that's going on what's happening there. The two other teens are not named because they are under the age of 18 years old. So in state law, public land is something in Montana that has been and will always be a debated issue in the state of Montana and in the nation. According to Attorney General of Montana, Tim Fox, Governor State Bullock denied a land easement because of a delay. That Bullock refused to allow Fish, Wildlife, Parks to purchase conservation easements of more than 100 acres for $100,000, according to the Attorney General Tim Fox's opinion. But Bullock blocked this from happening, and according to Tim Fox, the delay was denied for Fish, Wildlife, and Park to submit the easement. Also, Fox denied the delay, but still would have voted in favor of public lands being recreational for Montanans. The previous practice of bringing easements of more than 100 acres or $100,000 for these easements before the board has been basically a courtesy, but ultimately not legally necessary. Bullock and members of the Montana State Board of Land Commissioners basically blocked this from happening with a vote from Bullock. So basically, while Fox and Bullock have long-term tenures on the Montana State Board of Land Commissioners, Stapleton, Rosendale, and Armstead still are learning the ropes after the 2016 election, and processes must allow them to adequately ask questions and have them answered. So some of these, this is a very dry story, but it's a very interesting story to kind of think about, just like in terms of land management. And you can check all that out by the Helena Independent Record for more information. In national news, the CDC has released a report of an unusual mental illness that has been causing weakness in legs and arms in young children. A rare condition causing weakness in the arms and legs and sometimes paralysis has been confirmed in 62 children so far this year. It was first discovered back in 2006. It's called acute flaccid mellitus. It's AFM. It's a rare but serious condition. It affects the nervous system, specifically the areas of the spinal cord called gray matter, and the muscles and reflexes in the body become weak. This condition is not new, but the increase in cases that they saw starting in 2014 is new. The CDC estimates that less than 1 in a million people in the United States will get AFM each year. And it's usually rampant among children. The average age of children is about 4. 90% of all cases of AFM are 4 years old, but there have been studies since 2014 that have involved children 18 or younger. Many CDC's officials don't know what is causing this, but they tell parents to get regular checkups and are up to date on vaccinations. So that's kind of what's happening. It's kind of a mystery illness that are affecting children. So that's just something to think about and to check on, just in case you feel as though that your kids are unusually weak for their age. So that's kind of what's happening in the news today. I just want to give a shout out to MCAT's future new home with the Missoula Public Library, all under one roof. If you're interested in finding out more and checking out the live camera, you can always go to MCAT.org. We have a link right here, and you got to kind of see an idea of what the building will look like in its end. But if you click on it right now, you get to a new website, which is also, you can get the link from Missoula Public Library, and you get to watch the construction. So right now, they're kind of building the base, and they're getting some things already and going, connecting everything together. And you could expect this building to start growing and get crazy by March 2020. So we still have about another year and a half, roughly, before the new library will open. But the old library will be open primarily throughout the whole entire year, since they're building the new library right next to the old library. So that's kind of what's happening in the news today. Here's some new programs that are going to be airing on MCAT. And then when I come back, I got some stuff with the City Council, which is a 3-hour and 20-minute meeting all about the new gun ordinance.
Rousseau, as you may know, became the teacher of the French revolutionaries, and Rousseau would not settle for an arrangement like American constitutionalism. As he said of the British Constitution and the British nation, often hailed as a model of free government, the British people, he said, thought themselves free, but they were free only on that one day when they voted for their representatives in Parliament. Representation, which in a way is the keystone of the American arch of constitutionalism, was unwelcome, worse than unwelcome, to Rousseau. He considered rule by representatives to be hardly any freer than rule by kings or autocrats.
He was quite, I mean, he did go beyond journalism near the end of his life. But I mean, he was a true journalist, and he had the nickname Uncle Walt.
Right.
You know, he was everybody's uncle.
Yeah.
You know, coming into your home, and he was the authority voice. There weren't a lot of different newscasters, you know.
No.
So.
I remember. I mean, he definitely maintained his objectivity, but there were points like when I was only a 5-year-old when Kennedy was killed, but I do remember when Walter finally broke the news and being overcome by the emotion, taking his glasses off and having to wipe his eyes. So he was human, and that's what, I think we trusted him, and I don't think anybody could ever say that he practiced fake news.
Right.
I marched up to my boss's desk, thoroughly prepared to lose my job. And just to make a little context, my boss is like 6'4". He's a big white dude, like shaves his head. He's got like this big beard. He's super intimidating. He's like an ex-cop from Idaho. He's got tattoos. And it's just like really setting the scene here, right? And there's me, skinny brown kid, totally just shaking in my boots. And I marched right up to his desk. And I'm like, can I talk to you? And he's like, oh, yeah, bud, what's up? And I proceed to verbally spew all over his desk. And it's like, so I've decided to live my life as a man, and my name is Acton, and I'm going to need you to refer to me as he and him. And if you can't do that, then you need to tell me right now, because I will refuse to work for you. And he's like, what? And I'm like, what? And he says, no, dude, I totally just didn't hear what you were saying, because in the background, our air compressor went off. And when an air compressor goes off, that means the generator goes off to generate air to fill the tank, and it's loud, like a truck loud. And I totally just talked to the air compressor.
All the early news reports had him all around. And there's a telephone number. So I called him. The guy answers and said, I didn't know what I was going to say. One thing you learn about Stan Patton very quickly is that he lived in his father's shadow. His father had been a very well-regarded Forest Service engineer. Everybody knew Phil Patton. And that's a theme in the book. Stan Patton walks into a bar, and the bartender looks up and says, here's Phil Patton's kid, have a drink on me. And it worked on him. So when he answered the phone, I said, I'm looking for Phil Patton's son. There's a long pause. He said, that's me. And he was proud of it. I said, well, I'd like to talk to you about the Rattlesnake Fire. I'm writing a book about it. And there was an even longer pause. Then he said, all right, I'll talk to you. I said, thank you, I'll be there in 15 minutes.
Of course, you can watch all those programs, all available at MCAT.org. It's a great resource for anybody who wants to learn more about the Rattlesnake Fire, and that last clip from an author who wrote about the Rattlesnake Fire back in the day. Anyways, let's talk less about this, and let's talk more about the gun ordinance that happened in Missoula. So it's in effect. The city of Missoula voted in favor of expanding a gun ordinance where it prohibits guns in parks and basically firearms on facilities. So here, anyways, let's talk about guns, or should I say the city of Missoula talked about guns in the public buildings regarding polling places, because schools don't allow firearms on their facilities naturally, but schools in Missoula are closed for construction, so a lot of the polling places are put in temporary locations, and they're not covered by a gun ordinance. The whole point in this gun ordinance is to give a little more teeth in legal action for people who bring weapons on these premises. So, of course, the motion did approve. The renaming of the chapter Firearms in Public Buildings or Meetings was changed to Firearms in Public Buildings and Locations of Public Assembly were approved. Many of the things that were fairly unclear were there a lot of back and forth. The city wanted to make this an emergency ordinance, which would put this updated ordinance into effect ASAP rather than a 30-day grace period, because the election is coming up in November, which is less than 30 days away. Carol Bellin, who's worked in polling places, thinks that this is a good idea to have.
Other groups of people in the U.S., like African Americans, Native Americans, minority groups, have worked very hard for the right to vote without intimidation. And so I believe it is, to me, the greatest symbol of our democracy is the act of a citizen going down and casting their ballot. And to me, that is the expression that we have reached maturity politically, that we can engage civilly without intimidating each other and disagree, and that we can bring change about without violence. So I believe you're on the right track with this. I really appreciate. I believe that this ordinance will help to protect this ideal.
All right, so that was Bellum. Up next, we got somebody who is pro-guns, and this is Marshall Pierce. And this is what he had to say about this ordinance being unnecessary.
Of a public assembly, to my reading anyway, seems awfully vague. It seems like it could cover pretty much anything from a barbecue to people helping out at a traffic accident, as long as there's multiple people. That seems like it opens up a lot of opportunities for sort of an eye of the beholder phenomenon in terms of deciding whether or not a particular group of people falls under the scope of this. And finally, I guess I'm going to betray my day job as an engineer here. We like to measure things and measure metrics of success on our projects. And historically, both domestically and internationally, this sort of legislation of creating areas where guns are banned has not really had much correlation with reducing the harm that people experience there. So I was wondering if there was any sort of plan to measure in a week, month, year, etc., whether or not this worked. So it's probably going to be pretty effective at preventing concealed carriers from carrying in these zones. I think concealed carriers actually are one of the least, or one of the most law-abiding groups of people in America. They are definitely have fewer crimes committed than your average person. I think by some measures they actually commit fewer crimes than police officers, which is in no way a slur against police officers, just making the point that concealed carriers will obey this, but if criminals do not, is there some plan to say, well, this law didn't work, can we change it? Or is it just part of the normal flow of city council progress, I guess?
All right, so that's what some of the opposition said about this. I didn't go too much into the back and forth between the public comment, so you kind of get the idea of some of the public comment going back and forth. There's always longer meetings when there's usually a gun issue. Last time City of Missoula brought up a gun issue was the looking up background checks for people who buy guns through pawn shops. The biggest issue comes from members on the city council who had an ordinance expansion was an overlay that would include parks, but in some cases public parks are also located on school property, speaking of West Riverside Park. So which of the city would be kind of specific on where areas are considered prohibited when carrying guns of any kind? Public comment was all about gun owners saying that they are responsible, and concealed carry permits are also responsible as well, and the city is looking to prevent these law-abiding citizens from protecting themselves. On the other side, we had a bunch of folks saying that they want areas where they can feel safe, and having guns there feels unnecessary. Some even suggested armed officers at polling places for future elections as well. Julie Armstrong suggested that Section B in the ordinance is unnecessary, and Section B is one of those things where if you have X amount of people gathered, is that not considered a public assembly? So this is what she had to say about that.
If we're referring strictly to city business, I would rather define that under city business, where under number 3, city council meeting buildings, or maybe perhaps where city council business is being held, and strike that. I think that there's a lot of concern in the community about if 3 people meet in Karis Park, is that an assembly? Or if do they have to file a large group permit? So I'm a little...
So to be clear, the amendment proposal is to remove item B.
Correct.
Okay. Comment on that amendment, Ms. Merritt.
All right, so that was Julie Armstrong on that quote. Up next, we have, of course, Julie Merritt goes on to explain that a part of Section B they want to keep is their meeting regarding government meetings that extend beyond city council chambers. So let's say the city has a ribbon cutting, and they're doing a session where they want to do that. They're also going to try to extend it to that. But, of course, I'm not going to get into it too much. It's basically city meetings that are regarded to going out on the scene where they're doing like a tour or anything like that. That's considered a city meeting, which they would prohibit guns along that as well. But they were much amended motions, and the city wanted to pass that pertain to the exempt for concealed carry permits, but ultimately failed for an exempt for those folks. Jim Nugent talks about exercising full authority of gun prohibition, saying that how much the city actually has in terms of wielding their authority.
The city has the authority to prevent and suppress the carrying of concealed weapons or unconcealed weapons. It's optional with the city council whether you want to exercise that full authority. And of course with the federal buildings, you have no jurisdiction over the federal buildings. If you go back to Washington, D.C., you can't get into those federal buildings or those museums or the Smithsonian's because they have checks at each one, and they don't let you in with concealed weapons. But we can't regulate the federal government or the federal buildings. That's up to the federal government. But the city council, with respect to this ordinance, has the option of prohibiting both, or one. You can say unconcealed and allow concealed. That's up to the city council in its discretion.
All right, so that was Jim Nugent kind of explaining about the clarity. The city has to interpret it in their own way. Let's see, what else do I have? So Gwen Jones, she talks about giving the city police more teeth in the matter of concealed or non-concealed weapons incidents in regarding parks. And this is what she had to say.
This has been a policy for many, many years with our Parks Department. They've enforced it to the best of their ability, but by codifying it, this makes it far clearer. And I raised 3 kids. The youngest is in high school now. I spent hundreds and hundreds of hours at public parks with them, and I don't think any type of gun should be at our public parks for any reason. So I absolutely do not support the amendment.
Okay, so the amendment failed. The majority of the city council, 8 out of the 11 city council members who were there, they voted against this amendment to give it exempt for concealed carry permits. Parks and Rec have an ongoing policy in regards to prohibiting guns for the last 30 years, but no law actually has been in place. So a lot of police officers have been basically interpreting the law as felony trespass to for if any incidents were to occur that involved a person who had a gun. But of course, needless to say, the city voted in favor of prohibiting guns on public parks in general. This kind of goes into public safety of the parks as well. Julie Armstrong, who opposed this amendment from the very beginning, talks about how vague it is in terms of enforceability and prohibition.
The same concerns I had over the first gun ordinance is the ability to enforce. And there's still a lot of ambiguity in this, in that there's not a delineation of boundaries when you're in a park to know whether you're abiding with your concealed carry in the parking lot, but once you cross the curb, are you in the park? And I think there's still a lot of work to be done there. Because this is an emergency ordinance, I would have been very happy for us to just say polling places are included, maybe clarify the city buildings were included, and let's go with that. And then to bring it back and work on it some more if we were going to include parks. I think the edict that good fences make good neighbors is very important, and I think that consistency and clarity for our citizens when we make policy is very important. And knowing that when we say that this is it, we're not going to work on it, this is the law, this is what we're all, it makes it much easier for our law enforcement officers too. I don't know how they're going to enforce this. It's complaint driven. When they walk in, if somebody walks back to their car, they're in compliance now. But they weren't in compliance in the park, and I think it's going to be very, very difficult for them to enforce this. I know that they'll work around it, and I trust them, and I trust their judgment, and I know citizens are going to continue to carry in parks. I know that they're going to, and they're probably just fine, and it will never cause a problem. But if somebody had a grudge against someone and wanted to exercise police power against them and say, I know this person is carrying, that makes it difficult for our officers, again, to pick and choose of how they're going to enforce this. And that's where my difficulty lies in voting for it. But thank you for the work you've done tonight.
And to follow up to Julie Armstrong's quote from the city council meeting is that the ordinance amendment for parks were approved, and the park are given more teeth when it comes to prohibiting guns on parks. Parking lots are fined to store guns in vehicles in parking lots, according to Chief Brady and Donna Glocker from Parks and Recreation, which are supportive of this updated ordinance. They just ask you that you leave your guns in your cars if you guys go to the parks as well. Brian Von Lossberg closes the discussion, disappointed with the fact that most people didn't know about the prohibition that the parks already put about guns.
Couple folks who certainly I have profound disagreements with on policy, but who I respect as concealed carry permits. For them to not understand the existing policy is disappointing. And this codifies that. Police chief was in support of that clarification. The director of parks is in support of that clarification, and I'll be supporting the pair of ordinances. We will take a roll call vote on the first ordinance, the emergency ordinance. Ms. Rabine.
All right, so so the city council needed a majority 2/3 vote to vote in favor of any emergency ordinance to put into effect ASAP, which happened. So that's kind of what happened there. Of course, you can watch the full 3-hour and 20-minute meeting from the city's website at ci.missoula.mt.us. All you got to go to is this nice website. It tells you everything that you need to know about current meetings, past meetings, and upcoming meetings that are going on. City of Missoula is doing some committee meetings. I don't think there was any committee meetings slated for today, but if you go to your government and then you go under city council, usually it's agenda webcast minutes. Sorry, just taking a little while. So if you click on here, it'll bring you to this page right here, where it kind of shows you a list and hyperlinks to all the agenda items and meetings. Looks like they have a bunch of meetings this afternoon, but they don't have any meetings this morning. Admin Finance will kick off the City Council committee meeting starting at 1. And you can check them all out on channel 190 on MCAT live. They'll be live on MCAT channel 190. You can always go on MCAT.org for more information as well. But I'm going to switch gears, and we're going to go to a new episode of Dubbin' Stuff back in the Old West.
Sometime in the Old West. So did you hear me back there? I said, back in the Old West. Well, let me give you more context to this scene. You see, we're traveling with this young lady over there, and it's just the two of us, and we're gonna betray them, and we're gonna be like, hey, we're betraying you at the most inconvenient time, and all that stuff. Oh, they're getting a little further away. Let's try to catch up. Come on. So I told the girl, that's no spur. And I was telling her the other day is that, hey, I don't mean nothing by that.
Well, okay, can you just, quit talking so much?
So I was wondering, when are we going to get paid for our services? You do have money, don't you?
We wouldn't be doing this if you didn't have any money. And escorting a young lady across the harsh West, that is.
Oh, I get it.
You think that you pay us and we don't have to say anything to you? Huh. Come on, let it out.
How about that weather out there? Oh, well, you see, I'm not good at small talk. You gotta ask better questions.
Excuse me? Well, my last job was a therapist, and I'm really good at listening.
What? I didn't know you were a therapist or something.
When you're hearing all sorts of problems from people, you start to gain problems of your own. Not easy being a therapist in a world that doesn't need you.
How? How dare you?
See, I told you that happened.
No, you didn't.
It doesn't take a therapist to realize that you're taking out all your internal frustration on the outside. It's quite clear that if you want to tackle this kind of issue, you have to look inside out, not outside in. The mind is a powerful thing. You use it to control your body, but most people don't use it to control their thoughts, which you shouldn't. You gotta let it flow over you. Because sometimes life ain't about what you know, it's about what you do. If you want to talk about weather, we'll talk about weather. Well, now it's time for my scene to betray them. I heard that. Bang, bang, bang. Oh! You should have fired instead of said bang. Well, hello there, ladies and gentlemen. We are here to turn the tables on you. That was my favorite gun. Just what do you think you guys are gonna do now? Well, we're gonna rob you. Is this a want or a need? Well, we didn't really quite think about that. Whoa. Did you just fart? What did you eat? Well, the same thing you did. Don't judge me. By the way, I picked up my gun. But you should be afraid of me. Well, I guess he makes a good point. Let's get out of here. Well, looks like this ends yet another chapter in Cowboy Bart's adventures.
Well, what was the whole point of that anyways?
Well, sometimes people gotta shoot your gun out of your hand to tell you that they want shotgun. Although they probably could have actually used a shotgun to say they want a shotgun, but I don't know. You really think I'm afraid of no gun?
Huh, that was ironic. We're talking about gun control, and then I show a Western with guns. Huh, that's ironic. But this show is ultimately nothing but ironic. Let's move on to let's talk about some events that are kicking off here in the city of Missoula. I just want you guys to know that MCAT will be doing a special event that's happening tomorrow, pretty much most of the day. It's part of the Big Read Magic and Animation. Just so you guys know, it's all about kids making stop animation videos, and also we'll have the studio all dressed up to make it look like a mystical forest. We're doing some green screen stuff, so it'll be really fun to have the kids do some Middle Earth, Earthsea fun activities based on the book Tales from Earthsea. And that's all about what the Big Read is all about, wizards and stuff. So MCAT will be doing that kind of thing starting tomorrow. Pretty much the main event starts from 4 to 6 p.m., but primarily it is going to be most of the day, but the big peak of the day will be from 4 to 6 p.m. tomorrow. I'll talk a little bit more about that, of course. Starting this morning, every Thursday morning before my show, usually coffee is provided for folks who take trails and bike paths throughout the city of Missoula. If you're interested in free coffee, you can look up pedalmissoula.org for more information about when and where this is taking place. Missoula Indoor Sports Arena and Roots Acre Sport Center are a place to be in these cold weather. It's a good way to be in the morning when it's cold, but this afternoon it's going to be nice and warm, so get outside as much as you can before it starts really getting cold. But if you're interested in having your kids doing some activities, being inside at Missoula Indoor Sports Arena and Roots Acre Sports Center are the best place to be. Art Associates of Missoula Monthly Meeting, Missoula Art Museum, the Art Associates of Missoula Monthly Meeting. Like I said, Senior Curator Brian Ricci's will speak in the Missoula Art Museum Gallery about the 5th grade art experience exhibits. And that all starts at 10 a.m. Also starting at 10 a.m. is the Rattle and Roll Teeny Tot Shop and Resource Center. Missoula Food Bank and Community Center is kicking things off with Tiny Tales, story time for newborns birth to 3 years of age. They also stick around for the Missoula Baby Bistro, a breastfeeding support group from 11 to 12:30 p.m. Mountain Home Montana's Raffle and Roll Teeny Tot Shop. Whew, that's a mouthful. And Resource Center will sell high-quality, gentle-use baby and children items and offer information on community resources for mothers and young parents. Also, Missoula Public Library does a story time at the Frenchtown Library every Thursday. Paleontology is kicking off at the Spectrum Discovery Center. Ooh, I got to slow down a little bit. Starting at 11 a.m., kicking things off at Spectrum Discovery Center is paleontology. Come celebrate Paleontology Day with us at Spectrum. Learn about fossils in the Discovery Bench and great creatures that wandered Earth so long ago. And the makerspace is Strawbees, and they're doing Makey in the makerspace in the special activity, and that's from 3 to 5:30 p.m. Make a computer game controller out of conductive materials like Play-Doh and tinfoil for a classic arcade or Nintendo game in the museum. Jane S. Hemman Makerspace. If you're interested in doing a lunch activity, Missoula Senior Center hosts a Scrabble and Bridge group every Thursday around 12:30ish. You can check it out. You get eat some lunch, hang out with some people at the best dance floor in Missoula. Missoula Senior Center starting around 12. Missoula music and dance classes with guest star from Ghana. Hey, if you want to learn a little traditional dance about flying the spirits free, Ghana to Montana. This is happening from October 15th through the 17th. It's Unity Dance and Drum presents Kaf Anag in Missoula to share music, dance, and storytelling from Ghana, West Africa. Classes in dance and drum on a Wednesday. Evening performances will bring traditional cultural arts to Missoula. It's at the open space in the PAR TV building in the basement of the 005. The public is welcome, and you must check in. It's a $20 class suggestion, but they won't necessarily charge you. students are free, and this happens today from 4 to 5:20 p.m. And of course, you can bring a drum if you have one. Big read event, Morphing Creature Creation. Missoula Public Library is learn how to use 3D model a fantastic creature using a program, Scriptlets. This class will go over the common function of sculptrits with a time allotted to creatively make your own creature, which can be then rendered through their 3D printer. Class size is limited to 5 participants, so you might want to get on that, and this is for ages 13 and older. And this registration opens, and you can register online at MissoulaPublicLibrary.org. And this is part of the big read. It's Morphing Creature Creation, starting at 6:30 p.m. tonight. And also tonight, Missoula Haunted House is doing their second week here in Missoula. 7 to 9 p.m. on weekdays, weekend nights, Friday and Saturday. It's they go from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. and it's at the Missoula Fairgrounds. Ballot issue LR 129. Will it help or will it hurt us? You can go to the event at the large meeting room at the Missoula Public Library, and they're talking about ballot initiative LR 129. And it's hosted by the League of Women Voters, and it's going to be live streamed on MCAT as well if you want to stay home and watch it at MCAT.org. You can hear about pros and cons and be part of the time for questions and answers about the local county elections and legal experts attending to provide information. They're going to look at, except in their description, they didn't really describe LR 129. Oh, well. If you guys are interested in doing that, you can check out that ballot initiative. If you guys are interested in going out and about tonight, they have the Heart of Missoula Neighborhood Leadership Meeting at the City Council Chambers. This is if you live in the downtown Missoula area and if you have any concerns, you can go to their Neighborhood Leadership Meeting at the Missoula City Council Chambers right next to the Thomas Mar Bar. Missoula Haunted House, already talked about that. You got karaoke at the Dark Horse, you got karaoke at the Badlander, and you got some rock music at the Top Hat Lounge tonight called The Dreamers. And that's what's happening for your Thursday events. I got a new art clip for you guys, and this is going to be featured at the Missoula Art Museum. Let me just double check to make sure it's the right one. And this is... That's not the right one. I think... Yeah. This is a whole brand new art clip for you guys. I just wanted to kind of show you this one as well. And this is called the Catherine Herthy Act 3 at the Missoula Art Museum. And then when I come back, I'm going to talk about Thursday events. Hey guys, welcome back. And those are produced by our very own Rick Phillips from here at MCAT. Let's talk about some Thursday events that are happening here in the city of Missoula. Kicking things off for your Thursday are... Hold on a second. School's out, Bug Club. Hey guys, Thursday, there's no school on Thursday and or Friday this week for a lot of the MCPS school kids. And in Missoula Secretarium is doing a class Thursday and Friday. Actually, just this Thursday. Sorry about that. And it's happening from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. And it's for kids aged 5 to 11. And it's $50, $45 if you're a member of the Missoula Secretarium. You can go to MissoulaButterflyHouse.org for more information. Then they have fun games, activities. They also ask that your kids must be potty trained. They usually do that, and this is school's out. Most of the working parents don't have these days off this week as well, so they want to provide basically a glorified babysitting education experience for the kids at the Missoula Secretarium, and that's $50. $45 for members. It's for the exclusive people. And also YMCA Family Fun Time starting tomorrow morning. It's usually around 9:30, and it goes until about 12, and it's $20 per family. So if you have a big family, it's a deal. Big Read event series Magic and Animation. It's kicking off tomorrow morning, but of course the main event is happening from 4 to 6 p.m. We'll have a bunch of cameras set up. The kids will do some stop animation. They're not watching animation. They're going to make their own animation. It's going to be great, and it'll be fun. They can all check it out. It's free, and it's part of the Big Read event from Missoula Public Library that we're helping as well. Tiny Tales is happening tomorrow at the Missoula Public Library starting at 10:30 a.m. So if you want to go back to the old school where Tiny Tales happens, kids get to learn 9 new words a day, and it's from birth to 3 years of age. Meet the creepy crawly crew at the Missoula Insectarium. Behind the scenes at the Insectarium, they have some very creepy crawly critters. Join us during the meet and greet with some of the most amazing animal ambassadors they have in their lab. They will have some spooky walking sticks and a very large venomous centipede. Of course, I don't think you'll be able to touch the venomous centipede because the word venomous may not be appropriate. And a few other creepy crawlies that you will not want to miss at the Missoula Secretarium starting at 3 in the afternoon. And speaking of afternoon, if you, since your kids are out and there's nothing going on, why not send them over to Missoula Public Library for the Lego Club starting at 3:30 p.m. They must, anyone who's 12 years and under must be accompanied by an adult. Intro into beatbox. Hey, it's a good day to learn a new trick and some trade. Starting at 4 p.m. in the Missoula Public Library, this event is a free beatbox class, which you can learn all the basic sounds and beats that become a proficient beatboxer. $10 suggested donation, and it hosts from 4 to 5 p.m. You can contact Ethan for more information, and it looks like it's just an open deal, so you can just drop in and just do it because there is no RSVP required. And this looks like it's going to be at the Missoula Public Library. I'm pretty sure it's probably in the large meeting room. Most events at the Missoula Public Library in the large meeting room. You can't miss it. Opening, Contemporary and Native American Art, Missoula Museum of Art and Culture. This is usually in the Part TV building. And kicking things off tomorrow at 5 to 7 p.m. There's an opening reception between Wisdom and Knowledge, Contemporary Native American Art. And it's in the lobby, and Malloy and Paxton Galleries. Refreshments will be served. So it's going to be all throughout the Missoula Montana Museum of Art and Culture. It's not going to be just in one section. It's going to be in all 3 parts of the gallery, and you might not want to miss it. And it kicks off tomorrow night, but of course it'll be going on throughout the month of October. I'm not sure. They usually have installations there. Most installations last as minimum to a month to about 3 months. Downtown Master Plan Community Kickoff. The Wilma Theater is hosting an event for people who are part of the Downtown Association or who want to be a part of the Downtown Association and just want to ask about the growth policy for the next 10 years in the city of Missoula. So you'll have people in partnerships with the Downtown Collective, and they'll provide an in-depth presentation and discussion about what's happened so far and where they want to go in the future. And if you don't like the whole gentrification of the city of Missoula, you might want to voice your opinions at the Wilma, kicking it off at 5:30 p.m. And you can help build an incredible downtown for centuries to come. You can call them at 543-4238. Again, that number is 543-4238. 638. For more information, you can go, and you can also email them info@MissoulaDowntown.com. And those are some of your events that are happening during the day of Thursday. If you're interested in going out and about for your Thursday night, there's always a bunch of events happening those nights as well. Kicking things off is, let's find Thursday first and foremost. So I'm going on to MissoulaEvents.net. MissoulaEvents.net is a great resource for you guys to check it out. Okay, never mind. It seems like the calendar keeps on breaking on me, so I can't necessarily go to specific events and days right now, but of course you guys can check out MissoulaEvents.net on your browser. All you got to do is go to MissoulaEvents.net for more information about what's happening within the city of Missoula. They have a couple things always happening. They always have a couple karaoke things from the Sunrise Saloon and a bunch of other fun things that are happening as well. Okay, so I want to talk about some things that are happening here at MCAT. MCAT hosts a orientation every Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. If you are a person interested in looking into getting into broadcast media, MCAT's the place to be. Every Wednesday, 5:30 p.m., and it's only about half an hour, and you get to check out some cool gear. You get from professional to consumer brand equipment, so you can check out camera equipment. The only stipulation is that we require a program that is made by you for the city of Missoula. So we want to support you in your endeavor to make videos, but we also want to show it for the city of Missoula. So just so you guys know, this isn't for personal gain. You must do this for increasing your own skills while at the same time providing programs for your community access television. So MCAT orientation every Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. here at MCAT, 500 North Higgins, Suite 105. You can't miss this. We're directly across from Missoula Textiles, right next to Peak Fitness Center. It's pretty dope. It's pretty cool. And then we'll be in the new library, which, once again, if you guys are interested in learning about the new library, you can go to MCAT.org and you can see a live webcam of the library by clicking on the picture of MCAT's new home, the library, right here. You click on it, it'll open this page, and you get to see what's happening. It's updates every minute or two, and you got to see, at one point, this crane was over here. This crane was over here. It was great. Things are moving. They're moving the crane from one section of the construction site to the other construction site. All sorts of things are happening. Missoula Public Library. All right, guys. I want to wrap up, so I want to thank you guys for joining me. And for Wake Up Missoula, I'm Scott Ramp. I hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful couple days. It's going to be beautiful outside. Looking all clear, looking all in the 60s. This may be the last week to do anything, so you might want to do it. So check it all out. Thank you, and goodbye.